So I've been using scalpels and scalpel blades for skinning and just everyday stuff for a while, and I came up with the brilliant idea. And that was to incorporate it into a Leatherman. And this was a couple years ago. I thought I was thinking of something new. Turns out there's a bunch of people out there that are already doing it. And there's actually a company that makes little things for a Leatherman. So if you don't want to make your own, you should go look them up. I have no idea what their name is, but it seemed like a pretty good idea. But I usually carry a Havalon, just like most hunters these days, because you don't have to sharpen them. You can just replace the blade. Makes it super handy, and you can get more done than you think. So normally what I figure is 2 blades for 1 elk. And so I usually do all my opening cuts and stuff until the blade gets dull. Then I switch over, finish everything else out just with this, you know, quartering them, everything just with this blade. And then on the next elk, I start with that same old blade and then do all my opening cuts, do everything. As soon as it starts getting dull, I switch. And so I guess really it's only about 1.5 blades. But I think it'd be nice to not have to carry this, even though it's super light. It's just one more thing to carry if you could incorporate it into a Leatherman. So let's take a look at this and see where we could put it. So a Leatherman, just like anything else that does multiple things, it's really handy and it's good to have. I always carry one with me. It's not great at anything. So it's good at a lot of stuff, not great at anything. But even on the Leatherman, there's some stuff that I never use. So I always use the pliers and the cutters, which this is a Sidekick. I actually got it because it has a clip. It's pretty handy. A lot of this stuff I don't really use. Never use a can opener. Don't use this little hook. I very rarely use this. I do use the file though. These screwdrivers, use them all the time. And then this particular one, this blade, use it all the time. This saw, I've never used it. So just kind of carrying it around. And the way that this folds up, whenever you get to looking at the size of this blade, it's not going to fit. And I'm hoping that I can put it in place of this saw. And it's going to be close. It's going to be really close. But I think it will make it work. So these blades that the Havalon used, they're a number 60 blade, and they go on a number 4 handle. Then if you get into smaller ones, which I might end up having to do if it doesn't fit, you have to use a number 3 handle, but you don't get as big of blades. So it'd still be nice to have this, but I would rather have, you know, a 22 or 20 size blade, or a 60 would be ideal. You know, these around number 10s, smaller, I don't think you could get as much done. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off and see what we're working with. If you're going to take your Leatherman apart, it is a Torx or T10, so a Torx number 10, and that's what size it is. And you're actually going to need 2 of them. And we'll see whenever I take this apart if the whole thing just falls apart and I don't know how to put it back together. So let me do that real quick. So pull this out, Loctite on it. There's a pin in there that this has to slip on, and there's a little brass washer in there. So what I need to do, I have a couple options here. Here's a number 4. So I need to get this in. I need to make sure that the blade is facing the right way though. So it's actually going to go this way. So I need this to be down. So I pretty much need to make this into that as close as I can get it. So after looking at it for a couple minutes, I really thought that I was going to have to cut another piece of metal out and weld it on here somehow. But if you look at it close, this handle, all the holes will be on there just like it needs to be. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm lining up the bottom of the blade, and I think that's going to give me the most clearance. I'm making sure, so this little hole here is for a little pin that keeps it closed, and then this one obviously is where it pivots. And so I think as long as both of those holes are on there, then you should be good. So I might not have to do any welding. It might just be drilling a couple holes and cutting and some filing and stuff. So right there, as long as I get my hole right, that is not centered at all. I think what I'm going to do, a center finder would be handy right here. That's pretty centered. See, and that marked it. Okay, good. This is, I don't know what kind of metal this is, but it's pretty cheap Pakistani. Everything medical seems to come from Pakistan. They definitely have the market on the medical instruments. So I'm going to drill this hole and see how that works. Okay, if you're wondering what size drill bits you're going to use, this is a 3/16 for the big hole and a 5/64 for the little one. And I think this is going to be pretty easy to drill. So I got my holes drilled. They look pretty decent. Now my problem is, this is 1/16 of an inch. And this is 7/64. So I think what I'm debating on if I should thin this down first or if I should cut it. And I think I'm gonna cut it off and then sand it down. I might leave it just a hair long. And then make sure those are lined up. I'm gonna leave it long and then I'll file it down or sand it down, or I don't know, somehow make it fit. If you look at this though, there's a little bit of a slant to it. So I'll have to match that and the thickness. But let's cut that off, I guess. All right, so I got this all cut out, lined up, everything fits. And then I remembered my problem. This, see how it goes too far? I'm just holding it together. I forgot that this is the stop. So now I'm gonna have to go back to what I was originally thinking, and I'm going to have to figure out a way to put a little bit of extra metal on there. What I found, I looked through my pile of old saw blades, and I found that this saw blade here is the right thickness. So I think I'm going to use this, cut out a little bit, stick it on there, and then hopefully it holds. So we'll see if that works. So after cutting that circular saw blade and filing it up, I got this to fit. If If you notice, there's a huge gap back here. I'm not really concerned about that because that's the back of it, and so that all that's coming off. But I needed to just make this, really I needed this shelf right here. And so I'm gonna have plenty. See, it's just barely, there's gonna be barely anything left. So I'm just gonna throw some silver solder in there. If you had a TIG, this would be the perfect opportunity for you to use it. I was working on getting this thing soldered together and it was coming along, but then I realized I didn't like the hole, so I actually just started over. I've been working on it for a little while. I ended up just welding a chunk of metal on there, and now I'm just kind of working it. I'm working on the stop, and it's getting close, but I need to keep going a little bit more, and I just need to clean it up, thin it down, that kind of stuff. So all I'm doing is putting it in this vise and filing away at it. Trial and error, it's going slow, but I'll fill you in when we get to the end. All right, well, there you have it. So folds up, still use a Leatherman just like always. You could put different blades on it. Only thing we need to do is go try it out, and I have a pretty good idea for something to go try it out on. So let's go try it. Well, works just fine. Here's my one complaint about this. So normally you have to use a pair of pliers to change the blade, or you can cut yourself, which I have done many a times. But the pliers that I use are the Leatherman itself, and so you can't change the blade without a stick or something because you're using your pliers. So other than that, works great. Thanks for watching the video. Try to make one of these or go order one, I guess. Oh, first morning. Just been seeing elk and deer. Show you where I'm at. A couple miles from the truck. This looks good, but I'm not seeing any sheep in here. I've been watching this bachelor group of bulls for a few minutes, but yeah, there's not. I thought for sure that getting in this rough stuff away from everybody, I thought for sure I would get into some sheep, and I might here in a minute. It's been cold, but let me show you these elk. So I've been discouraged today because I haven't seen a whole lot. And then I came over here to look at this draw right here. And there's a ram about 100 yards below me. But
stick bow. So we're gonna see what we can do. That went exactly how I expected it to. I was trying to get on those two rams for a while, and they finally just busted me. They just ran up the other hill. But if you look, there's just no way. It's really hard to stock up on them. And so I tried to get around them and they beat me. And so I was about 85 yards from them, but just couldn't get any closer. They stayed about 115 from me for a long time until they finally, I was trying to climb down these rocks right here, and they finally busted me. They're not super spooked though, they just went up on the other side. So I'm gonna watch them for a little while. One of them's pretty big, and I broke the #1 rule of hunting with a bow during the rifle season, and that was, there's a rifle in the truck, and that one was pretty big. So tomorrow, I'm just gonna watch them for now, try to figure out where they're going. Tomorrow I'm coming right back here and we'll see what happens.
Sun's going down. I head back to the truck, you know, walk of shame. But it's not surprising, because usually I figure few good encounters before I can make something happen with a bow. And so, yeah, hunting with the old longbow, and so you kind of expect stuff like that. But let me tell you a little bit about Barbary sheep while we're walking. So they're actually from northern Africa, the Barbary coast, and in the early 1900s they started to bring them to America to put them in zoos and stuff. And then in 1941, Game and Fish decided that they were going to try to keep some captive for hunting purposes. And so I can't remember how many they got. They got a few of them, started breeding them kind of in a big pen, which they call it like the holding pen, but they're really big, like sections of land. And then in the 50s, they started to release them. Some of them escaped on their own, but they started releasing them. And there's 3 main parts of New Mexico that they put them. I should say they're all over the, we're not all over the US, they're in other places. Everyone else calls them Audad. We're the only weird ones that call them Barbary Sheep. But yeah, so I think they're in Oregon. There's a bunch, most of them are in Texas, which that's where everybody thinks of Audad hunting, is Texas. But tags are easy to get. There's actually over-the-counter opportunities. They try to keep their populations limited because they get in the way of bighorn sheep. And so even though we call them Barbary sheep, they're not even really a sheep. They're actually more of a goat. So they look kind of like a sheep, but yeah, they're goats. They're pretty fun to hunt. I'm not an expert in any means. This is only the 4th time I've ever hunted them. But yeah, the only reason I'm not going to go back out tomorrow with a stick bow is because I covered a lot of country today, between walking and glassing and walking and glassing, and so those were the only 2 that I saw, and they have a tendency to move a lot. So those ones, I don't know if you probably can't tell in the video that when they're feeding, they feed really fast. When I first saw them, they thought they knew something was up, so they just stood there for a long time, and then once they started feeding again, they just took off, and I couldn't even keep up with them sneaking. So that's how they got ahead of me. I tried to cut them off, they got ahead of me, and then when they blew it, well, that jackrabbit scared me. But yeah, so I'm gonna try to get back to the truck. I'm a couple miles away. Sun's going down quick, and so I'll check in probably tomorrow holding a rifle. Well, I hiked in here in the dark, and I got to right where these sheep were yesterday. They're actually just right below me here, where I last saw them, and they were just feeding. And haven't seen anything other than deer. I was about to hike over to this other canyon, look on the other side, and there's a guy up on that knob. So figure if there's something in there, he'll see it. So I'm just gonna hang out for a little bit. You don't need to watch me glass, it's pretty boring. Right here. I'm debating on if I should shoot one or not. They're about 300 yards. I don't know. What do you think? Should I shoot them? Shoot one of them? I'm kind of just watching. Hopefully a big ram steps out, but this time of year they shouldn't be with big rams. It's always frustrating since the one I saw yesterday was big. I don't know if I should just finish or, I don't know, hold out.
on the canyon up there. And I'm pretty sure the rams that I saw yesterday are with that group. And they're right on the edge of private. So they're still on public right now. The problem is those mother sheep are probably 150 now right below me. So I don't know how I can get up there. The ram is 800 yards. It's too far for me. I'm not good enough for that. So I don't know if I should just blow these out and run up there and get closer. I should try to sneak around. But they're kind of heading up that way, and I'm afraid they're going to get on private. I don't know what to do. Not to spook these ones right here. I'm gonna go down around. I'm gonna have to go up that ridge, and they're right at the top of it, but they're moving pretty fast, so I need to scare them this way if I'm gonna do anything. I was afraid of that. So they're gonna bunch up with the rest of them. Probably spook everything. Sheep should just be right on the hill here. But I'm not going to be able to film because it's going to happen quick. Up here. I don't know if you can see them. You won't be able to see them on that camera. I thought for sure it was going to work. And I lost them. I was up here looking for them in the spot. I'm only a couple hundred yards from private. But they're headed back that way, which is where I've been hunting. Who knows how far they're going to come. It's all, but those two rams aren't in that bunch. I can still see them. It looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 of them in that group. But those two rams are in there, so I'm just going to let them calm down and then try to get on. Just like I said, you missed it. Because I'm not a good enough cameraman and shooter at the same time. So, remember I ran over to that hill over there. Now I'm back to where I started. I was actually under that little tree right there. And I watched those sheep come up here. And I was going to get ahead of them. That other guy that I ran into, he's on a hill over there, and I thought he was going to get a shot. And I came up into this little draw, and I was just kind of cutting my way back over. And they were standing right up there, about 250 yards. So I shot him. Well, it's not the big one though. It's not the those big ones weren't in there like I thought they were, but there was another ram. Well, I think it's a ram. We'll go check. But I ended up shooting twice. Pretty sure I hit them both times, but we'll see. I don't know. We've never Barbary sheep hunted. Whenever they get a little bit spooked, they all get in a big bunch, and it's really hard to pick out the big one in a hurry. So you don't, especially when you're by yourself, you can't really. They all kind of look the same, and usually they bunch up right before they're about to take off. So I'm not 100% sure I shot the right one, the biggest one. It's definitely not the big one from yesterday. But we'll come check it out. He's right here. Like I said before, I'm not a sheep expert, but this is by far the best one I've killed. So I said it might not be the same one. I don't know. I think it might be. It's pretty good. And if you haven't seen them, sorry, I'm trying not to show any blood, but they're a pretty cool animal. They can get up to 300 pounds, which is not good for me because usually this is when I would go get the pack mule, and I don't have one today.
But if you stuck around this long, you get to see me try out this bad boy. So, alright. So here's my chance to call out all the sheep hunters out there. Why is it that you always take pictures from behind, trying to make them look ginormous? You get them behind, can you even see it? And it's usually over a cliff or something. It's kind of like, you know, holding up your deer with 2 fingers and being as far back as you can. But yeah, just me calling out sheep guys, I guess. I don't know. Maybe there's another reason for it, so you can see how much curve there is in them. But there's this one if you want to see it. The other thing is, who carries a tape measure to a kill? That's another thing that drives me crazy. Maybe fish. And with the Leatherman, most Leathermen have a tape measure on there, and it's turned a lot of 16-inch fish into 20-inchers, but that's one complaint about this Leatherman that I have. It doesn't have a tape measure, or I would make this sheep look bigger. Okay, I'm gonna give you the 30-second rundown if you've never skinned anything. If you're gonna make a cape for a mount, you're going to cut pretty much a ring around it behind the shoulder, come up the back of the leg till it ties in, make a slit down the back. If you're gonna make a rug, same thing here, but you're gonna run the slit up the bottom. Holy moly's. But I was thinking about caping this for a mount. Probably not going to, because he's so beat up in here. Don't look at the blood. Trying to keep that off of there. But yeah, it's just a little tidbit for you. Look how big their feet are. Kind of cool, huh? This pack out is not fun. So I have to go up that, and I'm about a quarter of the way there. So the thing is, there's 4-wheeler trails or 2 trackers in the bottom, most of these, for ranchers checking cattle. So right now, I'm trying to teach old Becky how to pack while I'm taking a break. She's not doing too great though. Come here, skinny cow. Man, I wish that... Maybe she's halter broke. If she was... Yeah. She lets me catch her. Maybe I'll try it. This pack back here. Don't judge me by the brand. It's Facebook Marketplace. But it's got to be an Internet 120 at least. And this is... It probably doesn't look steep on camera, but it is rough and tiring. And all I can think is I have a perfectly good mule standing at home. I bet I know exactly where she's standing. Doing nothing. The only reason I didn't bring them was because there are too many fences. So I think if I do this again, I'm gonna figure something out. Try to find all the gates, I don't know. But yeah, I have to cut across a few fences, and so I didn't bring any mules or horses. But I'm regretting it right now, that's for sure. Still not even halfway there to make it up this. But there's a road where I came in on the like 2 ridges over down, but I think this is gonna be the easiest way out. Okay, into the video. I'm getting close to the truck, so I'll probably just end it here. It's starting to snow. The reason why they call these poor man sheep is because this hunt right here cost me $103 and some fuel. And so I've never been on any bighorn sheep hunts, but they say it's similar. So you could definitely get your money's worth for these.
Give you one last look. Thanks for watching.